Hi, my name is Mariama Ford, also known as Queen, and this is QT with Queen, where quality takes time. I'm really excited because this is my first episode, my first time doing anything like this, so I'm really thankful for Ron for giving me the opportunity. And the idea behind QT with Queen is to just bring on people in the local community who own businesses, who may be activists or musicians or artists, and to kind of give the public an opportunity to see them in a different light, maybe in a more intimate, more setting, and that you can get to know them as a person. And as a community, we can come together and bridge the gap and maybe support each other and just learn how to grow Peoria and how to invest and to really make Peoria the best it can possibly be. So today I'm happy to introduce my first guest on the show, Sherry Swanson.
Hello.
She is she was a business owner at Goddess Bohem, and she is very talented with her upcycled designs. She also at this point has a Facebook buying group.
Yes.
Right, where she go ahead and puts up some beautiful outfits and offers them to some ladies. So if you're interested, that's a great way to get a hold of her. If you want to talk a little bit about yourself.
It's called the Goddess Bohem Buying Group, and I do curated outfits, a lot of boho, funky styles, in sizes 12 to 28. So if in your Peoria area you're not finding that in retail, you can look on the buying group. I do a different outfit every Sunday. And then I also do upcycled clothes, hand crocheted items, and wearable art pieces that are alcohol ink painted silk.
Oh, so it's very like unique and it's handcrafted per each person.
Yeah, a lot of one of a kind items.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's something that you don't really get that often here in Peoria. So earlier we got together and we went over some questions, some really different questions. They're not really much about the business, more about Sherry and, as a person and maybe some of her likes and dislikes. So it should be very interesting. First question, very relevant actually for you. So what's your favorite piece of clothing that you own or that you have owned?
I found a vintage Halston. It's a velvet jacket that's lined and it actually fits me. So for me to find a vintage designer piece big enough for me is like a miracle. So that's something I'll keep forever.
Yeah, what color?
It's black. It's black velvet with a little faux fur collar and silk on the inside.
And you said it was Halston?
Yeah.
And that's the name of the
back,
designer?
you're too young,
Oh.
but that's back in the 70s. They were like the Versace of the 70s.
Oh, Versace of the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I like vintage stuff too.
Disco, high-end disco.
Somebody said that I looked like I was disco-y to get today, but I felt like this
80s,
is more...
maybe.
Little 80s? Okay, so I was going like greaser 50s, like a Rizzo-ish. I was singing Rizzo on the way here in the car. I was feeling that mood. Okay, so what hobby would you get into if time and money weren't an issue?
Well, I would paint more. I started out with a degree in fine art from U of I, and I painted, and found out that when you paint on a piece of clothing, you can sell it quicker. So if I didn't have to sell things that I made, I would do fine art. And I do occasionally, but they rarely, especially, this sort of, I wouldn't say taboo subject matter, but different subject matter that I am interested in doing. Some of it's a little dark, some of it's a little nudity involved. So not everybody's going to put that in their living room. So
yeah, I understand that.
So I would like to be able to do art for art's sake and not for what I can sell quickly. Okay. And so if I didn't have to make money, I would do more of that.
So more paintings and because I know that you do have a lot of art that you,
and the subject matter,
have.
Even of the silk pieces I make, I would feel free to do subject matter that I wanted to do instead of what's in or what I might be able to sell.
All right. The piece that you had me wear the other night for the eco-friendly
that,
fashion
that
show.
goes a little towards.
That's a little. It was a little because it had the heart. Like somebody pointed
an
out to
anatomical
me.
heart in a human skull, and it's called "I'll Meet You in the Celestial Garden." It's about a loved one of mine that passed, and so it's like
wow.
a sort of therapeutic thing. Without, but it's still beautiful florals and
Yes.
dragonflies and bugs. I've got little. I want it slightly creepy, so there's bugs all over it, just like nature is.
And I like that though because it was like
but
you
it
said,
wasn't
had a little
so
bit.
grotesque that
No.
people were turned off by looking at it.
No.
But you had to like do a double take. Like, that is a human heart.
And like I said, when I wore it, I didn't even realize it. I didn't even see the skull, but the beading and the stuff that you added to it, and just the fabric itself made it soft, even though it had maybe deeper.
Slightly morbid.
Features on it, which I think is also cool because I like Tim Burton.
Before that experience happened to me, I didn't really get people's fascination with skulls. I was like, that's dark, that's death. Why would you want that?
Right.
But now that I love something that's dead, I can understand it a lot more.
That's cool.
People.
A different take
Right.
now means something different to you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, what skill would you like to master? If you could master a skill.
I would like to do the fancy patisseries.
What are patisseries?
Well, like a cake, but say it's a cake that's this big with 5 layers of different textures and a perfect glass glaze or something.
What?
Yeah.
Do people eat that cake, or do
Not
they just?
in Peoria, but there may be someone in Peoria that can do that, like the little French macarons.
Okay.
Like those, but then like a whole, like it's a dessert, but they're fancy.
It's fancy, yeah.
Like,
I see
it
fancy.
takes a lot of skill to get things the right textures and sheen and things like that.
Where, have you seen that in part? Like, have you had one for yourself? Have you seen it? Have you gone somewhere? And
Only on TV.
Only on TV.
I've had good pastries, but basic pastries, I don't. Well, maybe in New Orleans.
Yeah, probably in New Orleans.
Yeah, there was a shop called Sucre, which is just French for sugar, in New Orleans. And
It sounded so fancy. You're like, it's just French for sugar.
It is. But they had some really wonderful things there. So
oh, okay. New Orleans, coming at you. I wish. They just started the original series again, and that's all based in New Orleans, so it's awesome.
A couple times, yeah.
I like that show. So when people come to you for help, what do they usually
Stylist.
for stylists?
My friends have an event. They say, I need something to wear, and if my stuff fits them, I'll loan them stuff, or I'll go through their stuff,
and put something
we'll go
together.
online and find something. But if I was in a bigger city, that's something I could do for a living.
Yeah, because you have great taste. I've always said that when I get rich, she's going to be my stylist, because whenever she dresses me for any of her events or photo shoots, like, I just look awesome. Most of the best pictures I have on Facebook are because of Sherry. The outfits and the photo shoots that we've had. So I totally
enjoy
understand.
it a lot. I do it around here for local photographers, but it's usually on what's called a test shoot where nobody gets paid. We just all want to make a cool picture. So, we all volunteer our time and efforts and then we all get to use the results.
Oh, okay.
So you've been on test shoots.
Yeah, I've been on test shoots. Look at that.
So,
and I think that's a cool way, though, to expose different people to the different photographers, the different models, the different clothes. And it's a way to do it. Like, I mean, you don't get paid for it, but you get like the publicity, you get the exposure, and fabulous photos to represent what you can do. So that's always nice.
Yeah, I enjoy it. So, in a bigger city, or LA or somewhere that has films or something, you could do that for a living.
Would you ever think about doing something like
at this
that?
age, I don't see that happening. You never know. I might have another chapter.
We all have chapters.
Well, yeah. I've kind of done the hard work part of my life. I'm kind of in semi-retirement mode. Chilling out.
I got some years before I do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm double yours.
So, what's your favorite genre of book or movie? I'm kind of interested.
I like historical fiction.
Historical fiction?
So, I don't like sci-fi at all. which people would think I might. But I like if it's historical-based fiction, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. If it's based in the eye candy of it is historical, the wardrobe, the architecture, the scene settings are a different time and place that I can relate to that actually existed. But I'm a bit of an escapist, so.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to be in a spaceship. I want to be in Versailles. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want to escape Earth, per se.
Right.
It's
So
just a time.
A lot of people are into sci-fi, but I like historical fiction or just historical-based autobiography
The period
type
pieces.
stuff. Yeah.
I thought about
Like the originals. That's fiction, but I love it.
what's the Anne Rice? The
Yeah.
Anne Rice novels. That's what it made me think of with
Interview with
Lestat.
the
Yeah,
Vampire,
Interview with
all
a
of that.
Vampire. That
And,
and the
she's
way
done
that they
some
dress.
witch books too. And different
You know, everybody just knows the vampire book.
Right.
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, like you put them together in a movie, who's gonna forget about that?
Brad Pitt.
Okay, and what fad or trend do you hope comes back?
People going on dates.
I thought you were gonna talk about a fashion.
No.
I second that. I second that fad
Well,
and trend.
Fashion is always going to be people doing their own thing, and I think that's great. So, but yeah, people used to get to know each other in a public setting. Now, people's idea of a date, the first date is, can I come over at midnight? That's not a date.
No, that's not a date. That's
something
that's
else.
something else entirely. And I really think that has to do with what people
Well,
value nowadays
it's
as well.
the culture of the social media.
Mm.
The social media has a lot
The
of
double-edged sword of
Yeah.
social media. It's making us lose our
great for business,
Connection.
bad for
people.
relationships.
Look, for relationships and for human connection in the
Right.
real world. I miss phone calls on the corded phone. Like, I could only go so far away from
there's
this
so
spot
much
to
in
talk
someone's
on the
voice
phone.
that you cannot get in a text.
Yes. A lot of arguments and stuff happen that way. So that's understandable. That's cool. So we'll actually be right back after this break.
Gospel Peoria. Tune in Saturday nights at 7:30 on Comcast Cable Channel 22. Watch revealing positive information with various topics, people, and arts. Also, be sure to visit our Gospel Peoria TV Facebook and YouTube channel, where you can watch show segments, information, and updates about the program. That's Gospel Peoria TV on Comcast, Saturdays at 7:30 p.m., Channel 22. Now that's television with an innovative touch.
And we're back. Thank you for joining us again. This is QT with Queen, me, and we're here with Sherry Swanson, owner of the Goddess Bohem Buying Group on Facebook. And the last question we were just talking about were a fad or a trend that you wanted to come back, and it was dating, which like I said, I highly second that. I just think it's a lost art, unfortunately. Yeah. Romance, I feel like in general,
is an anachronism.
I feel like people rather jump into a relationship and then find out if they like that person afterwards than build a friendship. Like you said, go on dates. People used to go steady. Like, I want a Letterman jacket and a class ring. Like, there's levels to this stuff.
Right.
And, like, let's go and get a malt and have, like, two straws. Like, and, like, be cute instead of jumping right into the relationship.
I want to be seduced and fall in love.
Like, right. Like, is that so wrong?
Bam.
And then next thing you know, you have to be together because you're already living together. You might as well.
Here's an eggplant.
It happens that fast.
Yeah.
So let's see. Next question we have is, why did you decide to do the work you are doing now?
Um, well, I sort of took a year off after my business closed, and I had a personal loss and healed,
Mm-hmm.
basically, and then just wanted to find a way where I could be supportive to my family structure and pay my own little bills that I have. And so I came into a few dollars at Christmas and just used that to start this little group. I'd had past customers looking for me, calling me saying, "I'm at your shop and it's empty. I'm just
Heartbroken.
devastated." Like, well, when's the last time you were there? It was 3 years ago. So, this way it keeps it manageable where I can babysit my granddaughter several nights a week. I do that and, do the mom stuff I was raised to do that never did. I was raised to be a housewife in the 60s and that never happened. I was my own housewife, but so now I'm my son's housewife. Doesn't sound right, but works.
Oh, and see, that's funny because we talked about how social media, Facebook in general, is like a double-edged sword where, when it comes to business, it can be very helpful,
Yeah.
a really good instrument just to get yourself out there and exposed and maybe connect with people that you wouldn't be able to if you just had, like a storefront.
Right.
But again, it also limits, I won't say limits. It sets a certain like tone for the relationships of this day and age.
People are afraid of in person. Like people,
Like we're getting awkward.
like if you just say, "Oh, just call me." What? You want me to call you?
But see, then there's the other side where people will video call without even knowing you.
Right.
And that's another thing. Like
I will just answer, "I'm not a webcam entertainer."
I was just like, I don't know you.
What about me?
I have plenty of pictures if you want to see what I look like. But this
Right.
video, I haven't
6
heard you.
a.m. or 4 p.m.
Yeah,
or,
just random. We didn't schedule anything.
I
Like
don't know your last name. No,
Yeah, so it's awesome that you can utilize Facebook in that way for
$9.95 a minute. That's what we should. You want a video
Just to
chat?
say hi.
And you're a stranger. Yeah.
Let's see. What is the luckiest thing that has happened to you?
That I produced an excellent son. I don't know if that's luck. I guess it's luck because, in some ways he wasn't supposed to be here and he is here. And so that I have an excellent adult son that is good for me and the community and his kids.
That's good. That's definitely lucky. It's a blessing, if nothing else. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
So,
What's the dumbest thing that you've done that actually turned out well?
my business. I mean, it may seem like it didn't because it closed, but it was a good 6 years.
Yeah, it was.
And going into it, I had nothing. I started with nothing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, most people who start a brick and mortar shop have $100,000 or more. I started with 10 grand. That's it. And just grew and grew and grew. And, was able to maintain for 6 years that were fun.
Oh,
I
yeah,
enjoyed
it was
them.
a lot of fun.
It was a place where
Oh, my
people just
God.
came to hang out. It was good energy, and I enjoyed it. But it was 40, 50 hours a week stuck in that space. And people came to me, but now I can move around, and now I have grandkids and other things that, and I'm old. Ish.
Ish, look.
I don't want to work that hard, and that I'm making almost the same amount of actual profit
Oh, really?
doing what I'm doing with working 5 hours a week, basically. Well, more than that, because I'm shopping and stuff all the time because I like it. Online shopping, I enjoy.
So it's kind of, you can't even count it as work when you can enjoy it that much.
Right, they say do what you love and you never work a day in your life. So it's kind of like that because I can watch the baby and scroll on my wholesale sites and do my selling
Right.
while I'm sitting there. So I can multitask this way better.
And something that I've found out from a couple of other business owners, small business owners, is that people don't really understand how much work it takes to own your own business,
And
how much
cost.
it costs. I mean, time, energy, money, like it's
Well, there's a lot more. They think, oh, I just have to cover rent. No, there's so-called, there's insurance. There's all these other things you don't think about. Taxes, you know, it's very hard in this town to have a brick and mortar business that's anything retail where you have to pay money for the objects. You know, you could do a service maybe and make that work, but a retail here is very hard.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. So what is something that you will never do again?
Gosh, what was I thinking? I'll never own retail in Peoria.
Don't say
I'm not retail, not a brick and mortar, not here. I mean, if I had, I don't know if I'd do it anywhere. If I won the lottery, maybe I'd go to a groovy, hip artist type community, Colorado or somewhere, and have a shop and buy for the shop and have other people run
the shop. Well, what do you think as far as what is the community of Peoria missing that takes that away, that opportunity away to be able to have something retail, local?
A lot of the problem is the same clients that used to buy all the time, because of the economic depression here, they still want stuff, but they just don't have the money for it.
Right.
And then there's also, I hate to say, a little bit of a Walmart mentality where they compare something handmade price-wise to something mass-produced, fast fashion, like we were talking about at the event the other
and they
night.
don't understand the true value behind
Right,
what
so
they're buying.
there's some of that too, that there's sticker shock on something handmade, and that's across the board, jewelry artists, any type of artist, any type of woodworking, art, pottery.
Excuse me.
They all have that problem here, where if they were in a suburb of Chicago, if they were in an artist community somewhere, I mean, it's growing and it's getting better.
Right.
I mean, the First Fridays are still going
Fridays
strong.
are awesome.
There's more and more places opening up,
right.
and eventually I think we'll get there. They're trying to change Peoria, and they are doing it little by little.
It's a little slow
I went to
change.
Champaign. I went to U of I, right? And I left, obviously. And I went through there the other night with my son. Downtown Champaign is like, it's like a suburb of Chicago now. They've built up huge hotels and things that was just a little sleepy downtown with 3 or 4 cool shops only the in people knew about.
Right.
Now it's just fabulous. There's like 8 or 9 high-end, groovy, hip restaurants. There's vintage. There's still the vintage clothes stores. Downtown Champaign is an awesome model for Peoria people. Go look at that. It's just 100 miles away. And they're killing it. They're killing it.
Okay. Well,
go check that out, and someone develop here. But that's based around the college kids. Those college kids and their parents come from Chicago. They have big jobs in Chicago with money, and they come down.
So it's really
so you need to do the Bradley Main Street area where I tried. That is where development needs to happen. So you get the Bradley kids and the Bradley kids' parents here spending money.
That's good ideas. I hope some local officials will be watching this show to put that in place. So what are risks that are worth taking?
Love. After all the crap I just said about dating. True love.
True love.
It's worth it.
True.
It's very rare. You know it if you have it. And it's worth it. It's worth doing dumb stuff.
Well, I don't know. Maybe true love. True love. Okay. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Not lust.
So what makes life good?
Love.
Love.
And not just romantic love, but grandbabies and beautiful afternoon, just nature.
Everything that is love.
Yeah.
That you love. It does make life good. It's a blessing. Um, let's see. How do you get in the way of your own success?
Well, if I have a slight mishap or things don't go as well, I'll like psych myself up that the next one's gonna fail too. Like, oh, here we go. And so, even at my age, I know better than that, but it's hard. Your inner voice, to silence your inner voice when it's negative, is something really important to do. Tell them, pretend you're talking to yourself like you're talking to a friend, a dear friend. When they're talking negative, you'd be like, "Shut up, that's BS. You've got this." Blah blah blah. You have to talk. It sounds kind of corny, but you have to tell yourself. You have to treat yourself like you would a friend, as far as your inner dialogue.
Yeah, it's really important, self-empowerment and just really being able to stop that stream, because it's like it could be a negative stream of thoughts.
One little thing.
Yeah, it can trip
one
you
little
up.
Down thing, you're like, oh.
Here we go again. It's the where you wake up and you stub your toe in your morning and you just feel like the rest of the day is going to be bad, and send more bad things just keep happening, and it snowballs.
You gotta stop it and reverse it. Yeah.
You got to be your own best friend, be able to say something positive. And closing off, what do you think, if you had one message that they were like, all right, Sherry, you have one time to speak to the whole world, and we want your take on something that you think would leave a mark on something. What would you say?
If there's something you want to do with your life, there's a certain way you want to look, don't wait. Don't be like, after I lose 100 pounds, then I can rock that outfit. After this happens, then I can, fulfill my destiny, but I have to do A, B, and C first because society tells me that's the order. Just go for it.
Just go for it. Okay, yeah, I totally agree. So thank you for joining us. Again, this is Mariama Ford, known as Queen. I'm here with QT with Queen, and I hope to see you next time.